Finally today we revisit journalist Chris Peters. Last year Chris took us on a tour of Wellington and explained how tough life can be if you're deaf or hearing impaired.
Well, since then, he's had some big changes in his life. We caught up with him to see how he's going.
When we first filmed Chris Peters, he couldn't make out the sounds round him at the Wellington railway station. Since then, he's had a cochlear implant.
Before, when I was walking down the street, if you see someone, you'd just say hi and keep walking. Now, because I can hear better, I can actually happy to stop and talk.
Good morning.
G'day, mate. 10 trip to Waterloo, please.
Anyway, that is $32, please.
Nowadays, Chris gets a kick out of simple everyday tasks, like buying a railway ticket.
Thank you, mate.
Before his cochlear implant, he couldn't hear what he was told.
I just hit pass over my credit card, and wait to see what the amount was that came up on the reader, because the guy would tell me and I wouldn't know what he was saying.
Chris, who has inherited hearing loss, is a journalist and voluntary public affairs manager for the Hearing Association. Attitude saw Chris just before his operation last year, done through the Southern Cochlear Implant Program in Christchurch. His specialist, Phil Bird, explains that cochlear implants work in a completely different way to a traditional hearing aid.
A cochlear implant is significantly different from a hearing aid in that instead of amplifying sound, it converts a sound signal into an electronic signal and bypasses the outer, middle and inner ear and stimulates the nerve of hearing directly. This is the implanted part of the cochlear implant, and there are three parts of the implant. There's a magnet here which is placed underneath the skin, and there's another magnet on the outside of part of the cochlear implant which sticks onto this. This part here is called the receiver stimulator because it receives the signal from outside and then stimulates the electrode. This is the main electrode which is threaded inside the cochlea. This is the outside part of the implant. It consists of a microphone and a speech processor, which is a very clever computer which converts elements of speech into the electronic signal. There is then a magnet, and it corresponds to the implanted magnet. So they stick together with skin in between, of course.
Before the operation, Chris and wife Kathy meet with a hearing therapist who will help them prepare to re-enter the hearing world.
Hi, I'm Lisa Scott.
Sorry, you're
Lisa Scott.
Oh, Lisa. Oh, pleased to meet you at long last.
At this stage, Chris's hearing is poor. He has to focus on conversation.
Hi, Chris. How are you? Good to see you again. How are you? How are you? Hi, Kathy. The purpose of the meeting today is really just to get together with you now that your surgery's just about here, and just to find out how you're feeling about it. If there are any other questions you would like to ask me, just feel free, because as you know, I wear an implant too, so I should be able to help you with any questions that you have.
What would I expect to hear when they first turn it on?
People describe it as robots, ducks quacking, chipmunks. You can get all sorts of... you can hear whistles and bells, which is often a lot of high-pitched sound that your brain has yet to unscramble. And that happens very quickly. You tend to be able to understand environmental sounds first. So things like fingers tapping on the desk or light switches going on and off. They're actually quite easy to recognise. But the biggest thing with this is that you have to go out there and relearn the different sounds again. Because even though you've heard before, it's amazing how much you forget.
How long do you think it will take before I can hear
normally?
Everybody is so different. It depends on how fast your brain adapts to the implant. It also depends on how much work you are prepared to put into the implant. In other words, you've got to learn how to listen again. For a long time, you've been listening with your eyes and not your ears. So what we have got to do now is to turn that around, and we've got to get you listening with your ears again.
The operation over, Chris had to wait 6 weeks for the implant to settle before switch on.
The audiologist finally turned the sound on. She said, "Hello, Chris," and I could read her lips saying, "Hello, Chris," but it was beep, 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 beep. It sounded like R2-D2 out of Star Wars. And that was I thought that was really funny, and they've got apparently they always have a big box of tissues because it can be on the desk because it can be an emotional moment for people being able to hear, and I just laughed.
5 weeks after switch on, and Chris is delighting in the noisy world around him.
Hi there, cappuccino for you?
Oh, great, thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
We're amazed how much clearer his own speech has become.
I'm good.
Oh, it's amazing. To be able to sit and talk to people, to pick voices out of the clutter of the background noise. I can hear the bus going past. That's quite heavy sound. I can hear the splashing of the water from the fountain. But a lot of sounds like cars going past. The tyre noise is like chirping, like water running down a drain. It doesn't sound like a hum or whatever a car sounds like going past. That's slowly changing.
Since switch on, Chris has made 3 trips to Christchurch to fine-tune the implant. His hearing improves every day.
The 2 biggest changes for me have been at work. Now I go into a meeting wondering what am I going to hear, whereas in the past I go into a meeting wondering how am I going to hear, and that's a big mind shift. Yeah.
Chris's full-time job, manager at the Press Association, is now a whole lot easier.
As of last week, I started using the phone at work just for short calls, but I haven't done that since 1994. It's rescued me from the scrap heap in a way. I don't think I'd have ever walked away from my career, but it was getting to a point where it's very, very difficult.
At home with Kathy, Chris takes great pleasure in small, everyday things.
Came out here in the yard and I heard the birds chirping, and I haven't heard them since about 1995, or 15 years. 15 years since I heard the birds, and that was the first time I really started to get emotional about it.
And for Kathy, communication is so much easier.
We can talk in the car. We had the big trip up north to see my mum. We've never talked for how many years? Probably 15. I've just played music or listened to the radio, and this time we could talk on the way up. Played some music. Chris could recognise some songs.
Everyone's telling us we're a lot more relaxed. I owe Kathy a debt I'll never be able to repay, because she has always done whatever was required to help me to hear. The implant is a miracle.